Hi guys, Dr. Curtis Livesey here with Dynamite Ag, coming to you today from a soybean field that obviously has a little bit of a volunteer corn problem. So today I'd like to talk to you about some of the negative impact that the volunteer corn can have and exploring an option for something we can do to help reduce this kind of a problem in the future. Just last night I was reading an article that was published in a journal called Weed Technology by researchers from South Dakota State University. And in that article what they were looking at was the negative impact that volunteer corn has on soybean yield, and then they were looking at what point does it become cost effective to go out and spray that with a herbicide like a generic Select, for instance, knowing that that herbicide is more expensive than something like just using straight Roundup. Well, the results of this study might just surprise you. What the researchers found was that volunteer corn stands can have every bit as negative an impact on soybean yield as shattercane, cockleburr, common water hemp, and yes, even Palmer amaranth. So there's basically two types of header loss that we really need to be concerned with. The first of which is called whole ear loss, and that's when the whole ear manages to escape the head and it drops. And you've noticed in your soybean fields when you see a clump of corn stalks together, of corn plants together, that's likely where we've had whole ear loss. But what I'm focusing on more specifically is what we would call kernel loss. And kernel loss is when you see individual corn plants kind of spread throughout the field. And as I said, the researchers from South Dakota State University said the results of their study found that it doesn't have to be the ear loss or the whole ear that's actually causing the problems. They actually found, in contrast to some past research, that the individual corn plants can have greater damage or greater impact on your soybean yield than the clumps that are sort of clumped together. So if we want to talk about how we would go about, or one of the ways of going about addressing this, obviously we have the option of coming out here with something like Select or generic Select and spraying this, but that's obviously not a very inexpensive option. It may require a special pass, you may be tank mixing it, I understand that, but it's going to add cost. Another thing that we could potentially take a look at is the new 360 Yield Saver from 360 Yield Center, and that's a new gathering chain that 360 has released. And what it is, it's a series of blocks and brushes that are essentially molded to the gathering chain. And as those move along, and as the corn kernels especially come into that head, instead of bouncing out and getting all of this kernel loss like you see here with what I'm standing in, instead we're actually able to save those kernels. So we save those individual kernels, and the research that 360 has done has shown that they can reduce header loss by up to 80%. That's 80%. So now all of a sudden we're talking about a significant savings and a lot less of this in the field. So there are at least three ways that the 360 Yield Saver gathering chain from 360 Yield Center can save you money. First, you're going to save the bushels that you would have otherwise lost, and that's going to increase your corn yield. Secondly, you can save money on the herbicide that you would have spent otherwise. You don't need to come out here with a generic Select if we can cut down on the number of volunteer corn plants that we have dramatically. And then number three, you're actually going to also get a savings in terms of not costing you yield in your soybeans the following year. So again, at least three ways that the 360 Yield Saver can save you money. I've had a lot of guys ask and say, man, that's $600 a row, that's really expensive, and they're focusing very much on the approximately 2 bushels that is the projected that's what's going to save you in this year's corn crop. But I want to make sure that we take into account the other savings that come with that. So again, 360 Yield Saver, saving you money in 3 ways: saving you on your corn yield, saving you on your herbicide cost, and saving you on your soybean yield. Guys, if you got questions, please feel free to go to dynamiteag.com, shoot us an email, follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or give us a call, 641-919-5574. This is Dr. Curtis Livesey with Dynamite Ag saying thanks so much for your time.